Hi everyone, this week I'm going to do a little high altitude training in advance for my trip to Kilimanjaro and Mount Everest. I meet up with my good friend Scott Berry from Los Angeles and Greg Glee from Colorado and Aspen, and we begin our first day hiking the Highland Bowl.
We are in Aspen today in Snowmass with Scott and Greg and the big mitted beast. We're about ready to hike the Highland Bowl, and we're going to do a video at the top. We're going to have a ball, and it's one beautiful day, and we are the luckiest people alive to be able to be in this spectacular place. So let's go hiking.
Well, as you can see, the weather was incredible, and we start out our journey right up the ski lift and right underneath the lift all the way up to the Highland Bowl, and this is the bowl that I skied about 2 years ago. Very difficult. We got up the mountain, we took a couple breaks along the way. It was beautiful, fantastic weather. We just were soaking it all in. We were all by ourselves. I don't think we ever saw another person up there. And as we climbed further and further up the mountain, we eventually approached the bowl. As you can see the bowl behind us. And there was an ominous warning sign as we got there, and it said, "This is your decision point. This is where you have to choose to live or die, because death could be the outcome." And mostly that was geared towards when you're skiing there, and this is a sign right here, because it's very dangerous. I hiked up and skied it a couple of years ago, and it was just fantastic.
So we are hiking up the Highland Bowl, and we have made fantastic progress, as you see back behind us, where we come from. We've got a little bit of cloud cover. We've got a little bit of hail, but it stopped. We don't hear any thunderstorms, so we feel like we're in good shape. And you can see that's where we're going right there. We're doing pretty doggone good. It's about 1 o'clock. We started at 8:30. We're enjoying life, and as you can see, everywhere we look is unparalleled beauty. And we wish all of you were here with us. But today it's just the three of us.
So Scott and Greg take off towards the peak. We're almost there. Fast forward a little bit because we don't want to bore you with all the details of us hiking up and huffing and puffing, but we reached the summit. And there's a little tower at the very top. Scott jumped up one of the lifts, flew around.
All these people fall on the lift.
Greg, what are you doing? Then of course, Mr. Glee, always messing around.
All those things I told you about hang gliding and rock climbing, they're all made up. It's the scariest thing I have ever done. I am weeping behind these very cool sunglasses.
He is such a comic. Man, Greg and Scott, we had a great time. The beauty was unparalleled. These are Maroon Bells, one of the most photographed places in the world. Greg climbs up this little tower. We get a group shot, and day 2 begins. Greg, we wore him out, so he went mountain bike riding the next day, and Scott and I went to the base of Mount La Plata, 14,336 feet high, for an epic journey up this massive mountain.
Is day 2. La Plata is the mountain, 14,000 some thousand feet up on the high. About 8 o'clock, down the road. Beautiful everywhere around us.
And you can just see how beautiful this place is. Lots of valleys coming together where all the rivers merge. We went up through the Aspen Forest, and it was just spectacular. We got up on the ridge. We were about 12,000 feet here. We looked behind us on a ridge that a climber was actually climbing that ridge behind us, and we met him later in the video. You'll meet him in a minute. And Scott and I got up there. The storms were coming in. It was getting pretty intense.
Right in front of us. It's coming at us, and we are not going to avoid it. I've got my little spot in here I'm going to crawl into. We've all got little spots we're going to crawl into, because when this thing comes over, we're going to get wet.
Okay, I'm inside my cave. And it's starting to snow.
So as you can see, the weather changed in a second in Colorado, and we finally got out of our cave. The storm passed over. We met this fantastic family that was hiking up and had just summited the top. Scott and I are looking up towards the top. We're getting closer and closer all the time, and the weather turned beautiful blue. And then we continued up, and no sooner had we got to the top, almost there, and the weather started to close in on us again. But didn't matter. We kept going. It was getting really tough. We took a quick little break. There's the summit just behind me there. And there we are. We made it. 14,336 feet. Notice how Scott just saunters up there. It's no big deal for him because he's a young guy, but not for me. It was tough. On top of the world. This is something everyone must experience once in their life.
And Shafiq also topped out, but he did a little differently. So Shafiq, why don't you explain to us what you just did? Point to it.
Just climbed that ridge there, mostly on the other side.
Was that a just climb the ridge, Shafiq? Was that what you just did?
It could be a little interesting.
And then you climb the ridge all the way to the top. And Scott and I, just for the record, we went on this nice little path all the way and we exhausted ourselves. But Shafiq, he says, no, not good enough. Of course, he used to live in Nepal. He has to go along this ridge. This is what a man looks like right here. Don't ever forget.
It was a fun climb.
Hey, we just finished 14,336 feet. This is where we started this beautiful river. That is the mountain we just climbed. So imagine how many steps it took to go all the way to the top of that peak. We got caught in a blizzard, hunkered down on the rocks, rescued a couple, and we got back. We experienced more in one day than most people experience in a lifetime. Awesome. A couple of our favorite shots of Scott and I at the top of Mount Plata. Scott and this amazing family, 6 and 8-year-old children, summiting a 14,000-foot mountain. So Scott and I took one day off, and then a day later, we went for Mt Elbert. Today, Mt Elbert, we are driving up a dirt road, maybe cut a couple miles off our whole trip. It's our last day. We're gonna do one more 14er. And this is the second highest mountain in the United States. There was only one problem. We didn't really have the right car to go on these roads, and it was pretty tough. We had to be very careful crossing the rivers. You name it, we were doing it. Is this a rental car?
Why are we stopped?
The transmission got hot and said we had to wait for 8 minutes because we're crawling up this hill.
Not so good, Paul. It was crazy. Oop, little bottom out there. And then we got on the trail, and it was unbelievably beautiful. All the way up to the top here, 4,000-foot vertical. As we got up above the tree line, the clouds were below us. It was just
so beautiful, it's hard to even comprehend. You can see the clouds below us. All I have to say, all of you have tarted up your photo albums with pictures of being at Starbucks or rest side stops and scenic views. Get out in the nature. Get out and see what it's like to experience this expansiveness. It is the most awesome thing you'll ever feel.
So we were about halfway at this point, and we're just looking back out over the valley. It was pretty crazy how beautiful everything was.
All right, we're on Mount Elbert, about halfway up, about 12,500. We're gonna cruise up this trail here, right along this ridge line, and up along the peak there, and that there is the second highest peak in North America.
See the clouds coming in? Top is right there. So we're almost there. Probably gonna be in the clouds when we get there. It's still fantastic.
The big valley going up to the top, and that's where we're going. We're almost there.
And then we came across this disheveled hiker.
And right there on the rock
we didn't know who he was.
is a hawk.
But we thought we'd videotape him and put him in our movie. He had socks on his hands. We didn't know who he was, but he just looked like he needed a little help.
Isn't that beautiful? There's more of them. Look at. There's 3 of them. And Mama.
He was very excitable too.
So this is what it's like to summit another 14,000-foot mountain. It was tough, but we made it. And this is what it looks like at the top. Right there. That's it. So we set out for a goal for this trip to get some high altitude training, get used to 14,000 feet. Met our objective, one 12,000-foot mountain, 2 14,000 foots, and Mount Elbert was our last one, tallest one, second tallest one in the United States. Come here. He's camera shy, I don't know what his problem is. What do you say, Scott?
Hey, finally, here. See that we can't see.
You know, the young bucks are never breathing hard. It just pisses me off, I tell you, man. It's just easy for them, but we had a great time. Hopefully you enjoyed. See you next time on top of another 14,000-foot mountain. Or maybe Kilimanjaro, Mount Everest Base Camp.
Some of the fantastic scenery on this epic journey to Aspen to climb 14,000-foot mountains. We'll see you next week on The American Innovator.